some opening remarks before we get into our meeting. This is a joint meeting between the Fire Territory and the Township Board. It's probably the first time in how many months that we've had this clergy meeting together. And I'm looking forward for this meeting. I'm hoping that we can get a lot of things done this evening, things that we talked in the past, things that lack of communication will get better, and work towards a strategy of working as a team and not having the ability to criticize what we do, what we don't do, that we don't need. So without further ado, we're going to start with our pledge. I need to bring the flag to the room here so we can go pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do you mind leading to our prayer, please?
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for all the wonderful things you provide for us in this country and things that you do for us. We ask you to give us wisdom in everything we do today. And also in your prayers, if you don't mind, a couple of prayers for Steve's mom. Steve White's mom had a heart attack, and we're hoping and wishing that things get better in your family. And Steve, you've had a momentous couple of years there, and we hope things get better for you. Thank you. Amen. Amen. Grace, how do you want to do this? Do you want to open up? We've got to approve the agenda and stuff too. So do you want to do that for the fire board first?
I didn't realize we had an agenda. I thought you did. But
we got to officially have an agenda.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we, as we did in the past, you go ahead and open up with yours.
Okay. All right, I'd like to open a Jksn Township Board meeting on, this is July 29th, 2015. Current time is about 6:35 p.m. Present, we have myself, Jeff Roberts, the President of the Board, Secretary Glenn Schwartz, Board Member Gary Cook. Others present is the Township Trustee and numerous visitors, including our attorney, Township Attorney. I just need I declare a quorum. I need a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
For 7/29/15.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, the motion carries. Okay, I need to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. You want to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes for, what date was that?
Second.
I don't know. I'm sorry, when were those, trustee?
July 20th.
July 20th minutes.
I'll
Yes.
make a motion to approve the minutes for July the 20th, 2015.
I'll second that one.
Okay, motion carries. All right, I think I'll stop here because I think a lot of the rest of this is on our joint. Most of our meetings, if you want to move forward.
I have I had officially open up the joint meeting with the Fire Territory board members. John Pfeiffer representing Atlanta, and I represent the town of Arcadia. And Steve White is our fire chief, sits on the board, gives the chief's report, and so on and so forth. Before we get into our official agenda, I think it would be apropos at this time, whether it's out of order or what, I'll make a decision that it's, I think, apropos. I want to introduce Mr. Tim Gardner. Tim Gardner is an attorney that we had selected as a result of Mr. Loxton resigning. Mr. Loxton has a big schedule down south, and Mr. Gardner has agreed to be our attorney. I do have a letter of engagement from him, and we'll get into that first of all. And Tim, I would just like to personally introduce yourself and to the board and also the people out here and what you do right now and what you've done in the past, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Ms. Chris Miller is the trustee for Jksn Township. You've already heard the introduction of the board.
Yeah, I know most of it. I moved here from Elwood back in the 70s and was hired by the Noblesville Police Department. Worked for them for 22 years. I went from patrolman to chief and spent 9 years as assistant chief and 6 years as chief, 7 years as chief, and retired from there in '96 and immediately started law school. Retired in April and started law school in August and completed that in 2000. During that time, I've been employed by the county as the sheriff's office. First as 911 communications director while I was going through law school, and then as their counsel as legal advisor for the sheriff's office since being admitted to the bar. And spent 8 years as a full-time instructor at Ball State, also during that period of time in criminal justice. And I'm married and have 5 children, 4 children.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner, I appreciate that. I do want to say for record purposes, Mr. Gardner has spoken to the sheriff, and the sheriff felt there was no conflict of interest in representing us here at Fire Territory, along with being the legal advisor for the sheriff of the county. And I appreciate that. At this time, we're looking at the board's motion, accepting, first of all, the letter that I'm going to give our board member of Mr. Gardner, called the letter of engagement. Basically, the letter of engagement is an introduction that he's willing to take and represent the fire territory for a certain amount of money. It's got in there for the expenses. Anybody who wishes to see the letter, I think the board has a copy, the township board has a copy of the letter of engagement. So this, yes.
I'd like to have a copy.
I had one, I didn't know if it was sit over there. So I had a copy for you over there.
Mr. President, before we move forward, could we approve the agenda and approve the minutes?
I sure will. Yeah, I just wanted to do that brief introduction here.
That's fine. I just didn't want to forget that.
Okay. At this time, I want to get a motion to approve today's agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, we have a second?
Second.
The agenda has been approved. So let's get into, I just want to finish up the attorney deal, and I'm going to get into the minutes of the last minutes we had. So I just need a motion from the board to appoint Mr. Gardner as our representing attorney for the fire territory.
Can we have some discussion on this first?
I'm sorry?
Can we discuss this first?
Absolutely. Discussion.
I was just curious. We haven't really got to talk about this. I have no opposition to Mr. Gardner. I was looking at the budget that we have, and we have budgeted $10,000 next year for professional services, which legal is part of that professional services. I estimated if Mr. Gardner comes to one meeting a month for 2 hours, that's $3,000 a year that we would be taking out of that budget. I wanted to know if the rest of the board was aware of that and was okay with that.
Yeah, we reviewed budget. I was working with the chief and assistant chief on the budget, preparing that budget and seeing those numbers, and we had to do the cuts in that area in order to come up with what we did propose to the township.
Is our intentions to have Mr. Gardner at each one of our meetings?
I have not sat down and
discussed that, because that affects how much money we're going to spend.
I have not sat down and talked to Mr. Gardner about the particulars. I don't foresee him being here for all the meetings, but I do see him. First of all, our priority would be getting the documentation reviewed that we need to move forward. They'll spend a little time on that. The meetings that I feel that he needs to be at, I will call Mr. Gardner, but at this point, I have not sat down and talked to Mr. Gardner, but that in particular, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. I'm fine with it. I'm done with discussion if you have anything else.
Okay, I just need a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve hiring Mr. Gardner to be our representative, our legal representative.
Thank you. And we have a second?
I'll second that.
And we have a second, officially, Mr. Gardner, you're now the Fire Board Territory Attorney on record. And I appreciate you coming here this evening. Let's go ahead and move to the part where we have our minutes from our last meeting. Have we all had an opportunity to read those minutes?
Yes, I have.
I have no corrections or conditions.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we've had a first and second motion to approve the minutes for the Fire Territory. And we'll go ahead and sign the documentation at this point.
Judge will sign.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
We're going back to the,
For tomorrow. And I usually keep the other copy in case one gets lost.
that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maurice. Yep.
We'll start off with old business. I put together some items that also I have received from the Township Trustee of things that we'd like to have on the agenda. Some is old business, some is new business, got interlocked. I want to start off the most important issue here is looking at our 2016 budget with the changes that were made by the township that the board had an opportunity to look at that, agree or disagree, or go for discussion.
I don't have an issue with it. You guys need to discuss it more.
Okay.
I think a lot of it was, according to the trustee that I spoke with her, a lot of it was just calculations, small calculation errors, and there was a couple numbers that were different. It only affected the 100 section or the personal services area. Everything else has got no changes at all. That's why she printed off a single page. And it raised the budget just a little bit, about $1,000 with the recalculations, but did not change any of the line items as far as how they're funded. And now it's got extra copies up here, so I need them.
Just to reemphasize too, those corrections were talked about at the last meeting we had, but it had not been changed officially. I think it was by $1,000 and changed, if I remember.
May I?
Sure, please.
Okay, so the budget that was turned into the township, under total wages, it was taking $13,000 off because that was projected grant revenue. So you can't, when you do an expense report, you don't show your income on the expense report. And this part of the budget is expenses. So the expenses really are $13,000 more. And then, so that needed to be added. And then the second thing is in the match for the 457, it was calculated off of total wages, should have been calculated off of full-time wages. We did the same, I made a mistake last year. So it's in correcting that error and taking the $13,000 and adding, that's why there was such a small difference. And then I just went back over and made the calculations for the taxes. So just did double check.
Okay. Your comment? Do we have any other discussion on the budget? Then we have a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we approve the recommended budget changes that the provider unit has supplied us today.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Will we approve that? Move forward to the process.
Those changes will then be reflected in Gateway, And the next step is for the township to have a public hearing and then an adoption hearing. The adoption hearing, I really should be doing it that, but I can't do it.
It's very confusing.
Well, I've already done it. It's like, I will tell you this, I will send each one, it's going to be on Gateway. And the county does its non-binding review on September the 10th. I think ours is September the 19th. You have it, Mary?
I shut my phone off.
Well, anyway, so it needed to get into Gateway, so I'll push the button probably tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Second on the old business of salary resolution. Review approval. Did we put that, I'm sorry? I don't have a copy of it either.
Well, I mean, and it's not really something, the one thing that needs to, we don't need to do it tonight because it needs to be done at the adoption hearing, right?
Yeah, it has to be
Okay.
prepared
So-
for the township reading.
So, but the interlocal agreement says that the fire board has to come up with a resolution, and the resolution then needs to be given to the township. So, this was kind of my first swat at it, and then after I sat down and looked at it, I realized that without making ranges for the firemen, it doesn't allow us the flexibility for the two people that are on the payroll at $15 apiece. And those two people are Justin Webster, right?
Correct.
Justin Webster and Mike Seidel. Mike Seidel makes $15 an hour, he's the lead medic. Justin Webster serves as an inspector. So either those two need to be added, or there needs to be a range. And the range would then allow those two people to fall within there.
And that's just for the two part-time positions, correct?
Right.
Right.
And the only real differences in wages from last year is Chief White was paid $27,000, and the new budget was paid $29,000. And then those two people with $15 is not a change. It's just that without the range being there, it does not allow that to go through the budget process. So, I fire territory needs to, I don't know what to do with that.
Well, on the salary resolution, they can approve it and then it can be, but ultimately it's approved by the provider unit at your budget hearing.
So if they approve the amount, then I could put together, like we did here, make one that's joint. In the past, what we've done, we used to meet all the time, we had one salary resolution, we had both bodies there, so we just voted on it, and then we signed it. So we can do that again, but it needs to be at the adoption rather than at the public, rather than now.
Right, the fire, and please interrupt me. My understanding is fire territory can approve that tonight, but ultimately the provider unit will approve it at their, well, they'll have a public hearing, and then the final will be at the budget adoption hearing.
So it's like an appendix to the budget.
It's not final tonight by the
Yeah.
fire territory. It's not final.
So what do you
until
need,
the provider
so what do you need from the fire territory this evening specifically?
And two positions with the separate.
Well,
amounts.
either add the two positions
Add
or
those two
do I make a
positions.
range? Like,
I say add the two positions with the exact amount and then include them and add that on to
The range?
no, not a range, add the two positions.
List them as
List them as inspector and
part-time lead medic. List.
that's right. I think this here just had two more positions that are different than that is part-time pay. And we have listed part-time paramedic, part-time EMT, we need part-time inspector. Yeah, we just need two more.
Chief, discussion on it?
Doing it now, that's the direction the fire board wants to go. Just give me direction.
I'm fine either way.
I'll get it to the trustee.
I'm fine either way.
You're fine
Add
either way.
those two positions at 15 an hour. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
The inspector and the lead medic? So there'll be two lines on here?
Correct.
Right.
That's the direction.
Mr. Berger.
You're going to need an amount, a range of a total amount for the two.
You need a range. Yeah.
They get paid a set rate, $15 per hour.
Sure, but then you need to know how many hours they're gonna work, so you set a range
We're just setting
of the
the,
total amount.
we're just setting the title and position and setting the amount and pay per hour.
Maybe I'm not understanding
Yeah,
what you're asking.
here's, before what we've done is just we've added max, and we add max here. But what we've done
Total
is
for the year,
hourly
putting down
rates for
their
those
hourly
funds. and
The hourly rate is from this,
$15, $15 an hour.
that they can make, so if they just make the range up to 15, we'll do it too. But a range makes it easier if they decide they want to hire somebody that's a, I don't know, a gutter inspector.
I understand what she's saying.
Then it doesn't have to be.
You don't have, if you have 15, you're always gonna be stuck at 15, you have a range up to 15.
Up to.
Unless you amend the ordinance that you change or hire something differently.
Right.
We, as part of being on the council of Atlanta, we've always said it, and that was what that position paid. And that's
We
what-
set it not to exceed so many hours. That's probably what he's talking
On
about.
a part-time
We're
bill.
talking about just,
Part-time.
I understand what you're saying.
They just have a cap.
If you have a range, at least, I mean, you can as a board say it's gonna be 15 for this individual. But if you set a range up to 15, that way if a change takes place, you can at least, you can address it then without having to amend the
Yeah.
ordinance.
okay.
You see what we're driving at?
And that can be changed in variable.
Yeah, you
But
can
you change what you meant.
change it by your action rather than amending the ordinance each time something needs to change. Does that make sense? Is that kind of what we're driving at?
So is the recommendation from council that all part-time employees just be put in there, because typically we list them as needed. So we don't have a cap on our hours, we only cap
Well,
our hours.
We're not.
Again,
Our schedule fixed.
I was mistaken, again, we're not talking about hours, we're just talking about
Okay.
the hourly rate. And
So we can simply list a part-time position,
Zero to
and
15.
range with our lowest rate, which is currently 9, and our highest rate is
minimum wage,
115.
minimum wage, yeah, 9.15.
So essentially, we could eliminate it to just one line. So instead of adding 2 per position,
They could.
we can bump, because we're still all as needed. We don't inspect all the time, we may not have an ET all the time, so their status doesn't change. Based on the budget, it's probably not gonna be a lot of increase within that
Right.
as well. So,
But if you set the range and you got the minimum, maximum, and
it
it's
sounds like
changed,
that sounds like the easiest to just move forward, it would be to put put a part-time position as needed in the range from 9 to 15.
9:50.
Is that gonna affect yours as far as the way you got yours listed as part-time?
No, because I'm considered salary,
Okay.
although contract, although part-time.
Okay, okay.
So you
I'll
need
make a motion that we change to part-time, as needed employees from $0 to $15, not to exceed $15.
9:50.
9:50.
9:15.
Am I right?
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a
That's.
We have a motion, we have a second, approved. Again, we just approved the motion to have a variable from $9 per hour through $15 be the max for part-time employees in this category.
Thank you.
Okay, next discussion with the repairs and explorer. Discussion?
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Repairs for the Explorer paid for by the Territory review and approval for 561.
Now, this is something you're gonna put on eBay, and when we fix it, we're gonna put it on eBay, is that?
I think so, yeah, they want to sell it. But they can't sell it unless something's fixed on it, right?
Well, we could
Am I saying that
we could
right?
sell it, but I'm wondering if we couldn't get more if the repair was done, because the check engine light comes on or the whatever, and it would be $561 to get it repaired, then we'd be able to say, we're good to go. It's got rust on it.
You don't charge extra for rust, do they?
No,
But that's a township vehicle, correct? That's a township vehicle, it's not the territory's, correct?
But the township doesn't have, like, it's a fire vehicle. So the township doesn't have any line item in our budget for a fire vehicle. It's been used by the fire territory and the fire department. I mean, it's a fire vehicle.
So if it gets sold, is the money going into the territory funds or is it going into the township funds?
It would go into the township because it belongs to it, but the territory has used it for the past 3 years.
3 years.
And then before that, the fire department used it.
The township department used it before.
But the township has the township funds the territory too.
Well, with the experience that we just had with the Crown Vic, I don't think you're gonna get any more out of it, especially with rust on it and the age of that vehicle. If you put money into it, you ain't gonna get anything out of it. We put that Crown Vic on eBay and tried to sell it for $2,500 and never got a hit on it.
No, we did get hit on it. For 22.
That was not what was reported to us. We were reported at our meeting that there was no hit on it whatsoever, and we were gonna repost it, and we just talked.
It didn't sell because it didn't meet.
It had a minimum
Minimum
of
bid,
25,
right?
but it had a $2,200 bid on it.
Yeah, I didn't know that until you mentioned it to me. We talked the other day, but they didn't go at all. And I never heard of the 2,200 either.
Yeah, it had a reserve of 25, so the 22 came, and then when it didn't hit the 25, it just went off eBay. So it didn't sell, but we got hit for 22.
So could we put that Crown Vic, I know this is not a subject here, because we haven't even finished with the Explorer. Can that Crown Vic be put back on eBay
Absolutely.
and sold? Well, let's finish up the Explorer. John, any further discussion on that?
With our budget and the money we had, and we had to reduce everything. And it's not, the money's, this township vehicle, it was used for township, it was bought for township fire department before the territory was established. We maintained it while we were using the vehicle. And now I just don't see to anybody's benefit to put more money in. It's like throwing good money after bad.
I got a question. This is for Chief White. Chief, do you know if you have any more vehicle maintenance scheduled for this year? Have all your PMs done and all your stuff like that done? Or do you have anything else that you need to?
We'll probably experience oil changes for the engines.
Minor things and
Correct.
emergency
Maybe once
repairs?
it's completed.
Okay, this year, we just, for the board's sake, I'm looking at the expenditures report. We budgeted $21,000 for vehicle maintenance, and so far we've spent $7,773, or 37%. So, if the board would be interested in paying for those repairs, there's plenty of money in that line. And this is after ambulance 56 was repaired.
Well, I guess that applauds the PMS program that the fire territory has. They had to spend all the money, so
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with that.
that's good that they've been very frugal, and we haven't had any major maintenance issues or anything like that. I just thought I'd throw that out there, that there is plenty of money in that line item if we do feel like.
The 561, is that only to repair the light?
It's the CVAC, something. You have the other thing?
Why don't,
Go ahead.
my question, if you get $2,000 out of it and you spend 561, I don't think you're gonna make up a difference here of spending that money. I don't know.
So you agree with Mr. Pfeiffer?
Yeah, I do on that, and I also had another question. What about the Crown Vic? Who owns the Crown Vic?
Fire.
Fire territory.
And as I understand it, like whatever fund bought the vehicle, the money has to go back in that fund. So the fire territory bought the Crown Vic, so the proceeds for the Crown Vic would go back into the fire territory. The CUME fund bought the Explorer, so the proceeds from the Explorer would go back into the CUME fund.
So you're kind of splitting it up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, one vehicle's owned by us, the other's owned by territory.
What is the township's consensus on the expenditure? Mr. Cook, you mentioned that we probably won't be able to recoup that money anyway because of the way the condition of the vehicle in the year and our experience with the Crown Vic on eBay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I don't think you.
We have any other comments? Okay.
I tend to agree with Mr. Cook. I don't think I think if they list on eBay that what's wrong with it and that the check engine light comes on,
And the airbag light.
and the airbag light comes on, whoever's a mechanic that can fix that sort of stuff will be able to recognize that. If you are honest and tell them, hey, this is what's wrong with it, people feel you're honest and will, know that when they're purchasing it.
So if I may repeat this, if there's an understanding, we choose not to move forward and pay for the repair of $561 and leave the vehicle as it is to get whatever cost we can out of it without putting more expenditure into it.
You have a motion?
So we have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we leave the Ford Explorer up to the township to decide how they want to proceed with it since it's a vehicle.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's approved, so we'll disregard that. Next thing we need to talk about is, it's kind of a combination. It's the repair of the damaged back wall of section 55. I guess we probably need to incorporate the roof too as well, because this has gone on for a long time, and we haven't moved forward with making a decision on that. Discussion?
I got the email from Chief White about is it a hole in the back, or something's rusted out at the bottom or something?
Yes.
Okay. It's been doing that for quite a while, obviously. Have we got a quote to fix it, or do we want to look into getting a quote to fix it? Is that the motion we're trying to get, or what we're discussing here?
We need to get a motion to get it all fixed.
Yeah.
That retainer wall, over the years, the leaks and stuff, that's what we have. It is what it is. The wall's in condition because of all the leaks, and part of that probably precipitated by the bad roof.
Yeah. Is this a structural issue? Does anybody know?
Or
is it just a
I think
cosmetic issue?
It's inside the metal, I think. Did you, Chief White, you showed me where it was rotten out, and that was the wood framing on the inside of it, right?
There's two layers. There's an inner steel layer and an outer steel layer. There's a sill plate,
Yeah.
which is metal, and then inside there's the bottom of a column that is a true weight-bearing structural metal. The inner and outer, as well as the sill plate, are damaged. In fact, the sill plate for approximately 24 inches is completely gone. It's the plate that goes right on top of the concrete. It's completely gone. I'm not a structural engineer, but it appears that it's just some exterior rust. It does not appear to be nearly as damaged on the structural column.
But the point is, we need to get it fixed with the roof. I mean, we've talked about this for the whole year.
Absolutely.
It's time to make a move here, I think.
The last quote we got, I believe, was, what was that?
18.5 for the roof on it.
Andy, what was it, 18-something?
It was 18.5 from Hank Hinkle. And before Andy went to Hank and got that quote, the township presented us with 3 other quotes, and the cheapest one was about $30,000. And that was just for the north side. Hank's quote is for both the whole roof, front and back, north and south side. And looking into this, in the interlocal, each entity is responsible for their own building. So this is actually a township issue, in my opinion. And I researched back when about this roof leaking. That was the first issue that was brought up. And past history, that roof has leaked ever since they put that back addition onto that fire station. And that's what's caused all this damage, and it's been neglected over the past several years since things have been built. And with the way the interlocal is written, that would be a township issue also.
John, I agree with you to a point, but you're right, it is a township building, but it's like Atlanta. Do you pay for that piece up there?
Yes. There's no
For
money
usage of it? Well, shouldn't you pay part of it?
No, I mean, the territory is not paid. The town pays for the building and repairs up there.
It's because the territory doesn't own the building.
Right.
But they use both buildings. I think that they should share in maintenance. I mean, we're not asking for the whole amount, but we did start off with 13.5 on that 18.5. And I think you have 15 plus in your fund for that. It'll be a good gesture to help, since it's a territory usage.
Well, and I understand where you're coming from, Jerry, but the reviewing the claims on paying things and repairs of buildings, there's not been any fire territory money spent in the Atlanta station up there for any repairs or maintenance.
Yeah,
Actually,
but if they do, I mean, if it come to $18,000, I bet Atlanta would like for the territory
well,
to step
what
up.
I'm saying is, there's been, last year, looking through the claims, there was over almost $30,000 spent on this station in the territory funds in 2014. There's nothing been spent in Atlanta, and actually, there is about $7,500 that belongs to the town of Atlanta that is in the fire territory money budget that was supposed to be to repair and do things in the Atlanta station. And when that tornado went through, there was damage done to our building, and the damage is still there, and there was an insurance claim and a settlement, and our building still has damage clear back from November of 2013 that ain't being repaired. So I have an issue with keep dumping money in Arcadia Station whenever we had an insurance claim that paid to have repairs done to our building and still has not been done. And there's $5,000, or there was $5,000 of that insurance money floating around that now nobody seems to know where it's at or where it went and why the building's still not repaired.
Why wasn't it repaired?
I don't know. It should have been all repaired when the roof and everything else was.
Well, why don't we get together and repair both of them?
Let's get it fixed.
You know.
Let's repair them both and you know, we pay.
The way I'm seeing this is a one-way street and the money's going down here and nothing's going up here, even though that money was actually.
Well, I didn't even know about the damage to the Atlanta one, but the
Yeah, the
problem.
tornado hit it, ripped the whole roof off and damaged it, sucked the insulation out of it and everything. And we still have damage to
I
crack
think the
ceiling.
territory uses it,
damage.
we should fix it.
Well,
Same
I've
way
been saying that
as-
ever since, but we ain't getting nowhere with our building, but the money keeps going in out here and having the walls separated and everything else put in, and, you know, and that roof is a leak and due to neglect of the previous township board or whatever, and not maintaining their own building before it ever became territory. So, you know, that's where I'm looking at.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that.
I don't see anything, there's not enough communication, people getting actual facts of what's taking place around here.
But I think we should maintain our facilities, and the townships and Atlanta should partake in it, but I think the territory should partake in it some too. I think we should pay the majority of that 40-year-old building out there with repairs, but
Well,
we need to get them fixed and quit arguing about them, just get it
There's
done.
another issue that's part of the interlocal that states in there that the maintenance of the building is to belong to be maintained by the entities that own them unless we come up with an agreement. And here's territory's been going for 4 years and there ain't been a thing addressed or taken to, you know, and money's been spent without an agreement or votes on it.
So that works both ways, Atlanta and the town.
None of the money's been spent in Atlanta. There's been no damage or repairs to Atlanta up there that hasn't came from funds that were put in the budget, territory budget.
Where'd the $5,000 go to repair?
I don't know. That's what Chris told us back months ago, that there was $5,000 still left out of that insurance money, and at that time she was recommending giving it to the volunteer fire department. It was a discussion we had at our meeting, and said that there was money left over from the damage done up there, and everything was repaired, as I assumed, and she wanted to give it to the volunteer firemen because they did some cleanup up there, and there was money for cleanup.
I was under the impression that the damage had been fixed. I will tell you that. But there was no other damage. There was a ceiling that has something wrong with it, that when the adjuster was there, he was asked if that ceiling was the way it was before, and he was told yes. I'm not aware of any other things that need to be done. And lighting up in the attic and doing a lot of insulation, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was done.
I just feel like for what they make, they should have a good facility to stay in and work out of, and that goes for both buildings. I'd like to see them fixed, but I don't know what it's going to take.
I agree with you, and my other concern about this, Jerry, is working with the budget. We cut 6 months worth of shifts out of Atlanta Station in order to make this budget what it is. So we have reduced the Atlanta Station back, cut it in half. And originally the chief was presenting shutting it down completely. Now, we're part of the territory, and it seems like we're getting the short end of the stick here, and we're trying to contribute, and, You know, we maintain, we pay some of the utilities up there, we plow the snow, we mow the grass, we ain't paying all those expenditures that's getting paid for out of territory down here on this building and stuff. So I'm getting to the point where it feels like it's a one-way street here, and it's all three of us that takes us to be a fire territory.
That's right.
It takes every one of us to be a territory, no matter what, you know, tax levy comes from what area. Without them, we're not a territory, and that levy goes away. And, you know, I'm looking at trying to save all the money out of this year's budget, and hopefully it rolls over and we can put some shifts back in Atlanta instead of cutting that. You know, we're cutting manpower down, and that's just going backwards as far as I'm concerned, what we've worked hard to do and to maintain our fire department, and now we're going to start letting, you know, basically not using our part-time employees.
So you've got damages at Atlanta Fire Station that needs fixed.
Yep, there's still insulation, and that was discovered during the air conditioning issue 6 months ago, or longer. It's been longer than that. It was back last summer. There was an air conditioning issue up there, and when they went in just checking to make sure that the vents and things and the conduit hadn't been pulled off of the registers and stuff, they discovered there was very little insulation still in front that got sucked out during that tornado. The ceiling's still cracked. There's water stains and damage on the meeting room area that was supposed to be repaired. None of that's been repaired.
Well, come on, guys, let's get them fixed. What are we gonna do here? We gotta come up with this season. We've kicked this around for a year.
Didn't we get a quote to fix that Atlanta station and fix the insulation and all that? I thought we approved getting that.
We did, and it took a few forms because it was also lumped in with the project to create a separate quarters for the female employees, as well as a wall separating the living quarters from the bag. That was changed by the board and reduced to just those repairs of the water stains, the insulation, and the joint tape. So, and I think the emergency windows were kept in there. Is that correct? I'd have to look. But essentially, the biggest modifications for the quarters and the wall were removed and reduced. So we're waiting for the vendor who has been notified that his job has been reduced to do the repairs.
Well, they're sitting there deteriorating. Let's get it fixed someway. Come on, guys.
The only reason I came up, we were told by the township trustee that the the company was concerned that we didn't have separate living quarters out there for male and female. And that's why we underwent this task here, to get that to find money somewhere so we can add and separate the two, along with completing that roof area. And I agree with Mr. Pfeiffer is saying that roof, the area that they're concerned in Atlanta's never been fixed. And then we jumped into the 55 where we still have a problem with the roof. An ongoing problem that's been going on for several years. So the issue is, we can argue probably the next 6 months who's responsible, but I think tonight we need to make a decision, both in Atlanta and Arcadia roof, to include the wall, the additional damage we've done to the wall and part of that foundation, to get it fixed, period. Now, I don't agree we ought to pay the whole thing. We have some responsibility on that as well, but if I can see what Mr. Pfeiffer, representing the town of Atlanta, is looking at, is that it's only good for the pea, not for the pod. And I can see how he feels that way. And I support that. We just need to move forward, quit arguing about it, and get it done.
I agree.
So let's do this. Any more discussion on that, we'll start with the problem in Atlanta and rectify that problem. So,
how much was it, the quote to fix that Atlanta issue? Was it less than $5,000?
Yes. It was, together, everything joint was about 43.
That was including the
That was
wall.
the wall, we eliminated the wall, so I don't know if he had that itemized.
it would be close to $5,000 to do the whole job, to add.
And was there insurance money received for the damages?
There was insurance paid, but it was also including, they pay us to do cleaning and stuff like that, but that money went into cash. It didn't go into a fund, it went into cash in the fire territory fund. I mean, the cash is there, it went into that fund.
What does that mean, cash? And what does that get receipted into?
I put that, I don't receipt it into a fund, I receipt it into the fire territory fund, so it was receipted into the fire territory fund.
So then it could be appropriated where it needs to
It's
be
in- And then
appropriated.
that's the cash that's sitting in the bank, and then you can appropriate it if you want to, but it went into cash.
So it could be appropriated.
So
Well,
can we
but
get
we
a,
have the appropriation in this year's
Can we get
budget.
a motion then?
Appropriated into a fund for,
Well, it's in the fund. The fire territory fund is one big fund. So it's cash in the bank.
but it's not in a line item.
But see, when we get an insurance reimbursement, we don't have to appropriate it. So I would assume it would be the same for the township. We don't, you know,
But the ceiling came back that it wasn't a part of the damage.
No,
So it was
I met
leftover.
I met with the adjuster myself, because those stoops, there was a spot on the ceiling about this big where a roof vent leaked that I've repaired. I met back with the adjuster, and he said he was gonna pay for the ceiling, because when the roof blew off, it stained the ceiling all over the place. I mean, and when Doug said that ceiling's like that, it was just the one spot in the middle. And when I spoke with the adjuster, I told him, I said, this right here was there. And he said, well, I'm not even gonna split hairs about this, we'll fix it all.
Oh, so some of the damage was already there, but
It was a spot about this
but the
big.
insurance company is willing to pay for.
Yeah, because if you go look in the room, there's several areas where the roof blew off, because it was raining. And right in the middle is that one spot where we had a boot leak, a vent boot leak. And,
So if the money's there, why can't we just,
Fix it.
you know, but in order for us to get that money moved, the township has to approve that, is that correct?
I have to, I'm confused. I want to ask a few questions. I mean, if you want to, I don't know the answer. I'm not going to try to fake it. I don't know the answer. I mean, I put the money from the insurance company went into the fire territory fund.
does it have a revenue number? Like, you know, like if I get miscellaneous, you know, revenue from something,
Let
or
me do some looking.
Why don't we
like,
do this?
I guess when you receipt it,
If it's
then,
a fire territory's money, why can't we, fire territory ask the township to use that money to finish up?
Exactly.
Finish up Atlanta?
It didn't go into anything township. It's in the fire territory.
yours to spend.
fund.
but you know how you receipt stuff into, like you receipt stuff into your, like your grant money. You have a revenue number for that, and you
Right,
receipt that in. So,
I just put it into the fire territory fund.
so there's just like a general miscellaneous.
It wasn't really considered revenue because it was reimbursement for what.
But it has to have a receipt number, a revenue number.
Let me go back and check how I put it in to see how it comes out. I mean, I feel better than that, I'm trying to make,
But I will say, insurance reimbursements don't have to be
you don't
reappropriated.
have to be appropriate.
No.
Do we have an approximate dollar amount on that?
It's another year though, so you might have to look
I know,
at
that's
it.
what I'm saying, I've got to do some research on it.
I was curious if we knew approximately how much that was.
I tell you, I wasn't prepared at all.
Let me just stop here just a second, for the sake of not repeating what we're trying to do every month. Why don't we just talk about, once the money is found and moved,
I don't think it has to be moved, it's there.
well, then we just let the township take care of all those territories' money, you have the control of the money.
It's not a township thing.
Sorry,
That's
okay.
Atlanta.
So if I'm the fire territory, can I say, we use that money to go ahead and pay for that?
Absolutely, yes.
Then I'm requesting, I'm making a motion that we request,
Let me say something to Robin. In the budget, there is an appropriation for building repairs and maintenance. The building repairs and maintenance are at, I believe, $21,000. I handed you my paper, and we've only used 7.
I got buildings and grounds, would that be it?
I think
You've
so.
got $20,000 and
Yeah.
we used 1,500 of it.
Okay, so there's plenty of money, we have permission to spend plenty of funding to do $5,000 on Atlanta and $5,000 on Station 55. Then there needs to be, a pipe needs to be moved in Station 55 that will be an additional expense on top of that, because once they tear the ceiling, Andy help me with this, once they tear the ceiling off, or the roof off,
oh, yeah, what Hank recommended on this roof, at the back of, the station, there's a hanging modine furnace. And his recommendation was to have your HVAC guy vent it out the sidewall instead of having that penetration in the roof because it's such a flat roof. It's such a low, and that, I know around that, when Joe was trustee, I did some repairs for him, and there are a lot of water stands around where that vent penetrates the roof, so I think it would be.
Is that the one back by the back door, or the one that's in the middle?
It's the one that's kind of in the middle. I mean, it's in the new, right where the wall is, where the two come together.
It's right next to the new addition.
The other one vented out the sidewall.
Yeah, one's already out the sidewall. It was changed. That's another.
That hasn't been replaced. Before we were Territory, that hadn't.
Yeah, they put it out the
Yeah,
side.
we rented
Right out
it.
the west side of the
Yeah,
building.
to not, with the whole purpose of not messing with the roof.
Well, so what I'm saying is, we know that there's money for the repairs
We
at
have
Station
permission to
56.
spend $21,000, so there's more than enough there to do both.
So that's where the insurance money went.
Well, the insurance money is just in there.
The insurance money is $5,000.
So we have 26,000?
That was
No.
never budgeted.
Well, it might be in there, but
It was
it's got-
never, that's $5,000 extra than was what Chris is saying. The money has already was appropriated and approved for repairs. It's in there. The $5,000 is money that is extra, that came as the insurance reimbursement. It doesn't need to be appropriated, is what she's saying, because there's money in it. So it's really just $5,000 that is carried over.
Well, let's fix, I can't make that motion, but I'd like to.
So we've got plenty of money to fix both stations, and we'll probably have $7,000 or $8,000 left on top of that.
Well, I mean, you've got $21,000 and you've only spent 15. So if you spend another 10, you got, that's 11,500. So you could fix both, you could, and the township is putting in 13.
But that 5,000, would that also do the bedrooms and that wall and all that? So what I'm saying is, we're going from just fixing the damage to upgrades.
At this point, we
Consider back to the original plan approved by the board.
And that's something that will have to go back in front of the Atlanta Town Council for modification and changing that building because it was voted on not to do it. With the shifts being cut back there was no female up there.
But then.
Well, they lost their office too. That was the bad thing.
And he was taking the office out of there and was converting the office space into them. So that was the reason for taking that would have to go back in on. But as far as the roof or the ceiling and the insulation, I would like to move forward with that. I mean, it's been a year and a half.
And then you were gonna do a wall too, right? The wall to keep the, you're not gonna do that?
Now, that quote is still good from Hinkle?
Yeah.
$18,000?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna speak for him, but if you're wanting steel repaired on the building, I would talk to him before he orders the steel, because, you know, we've had him replace panels on our buildings before, and he's very reasonable. I mean, you can see that by his bid. But if you're gonna get a better price if you would incorporate changing steel on the building with the roof at the same time.
And he knows what he's doing too. Right?
Yeah, he's done all the
He's
work.
done a lot of work around here. so-
Yeah, I mean, he's done all our work on our buildings for years. He's built buildings for us.
I think there's more than one place where there's rust around the building. Do you agree?
There's probably numerous, but I think the southwest corner has some rust
Has
too.
the rust?
Yeah,
But,
think
I mean, that's
right.
something we're gonna have them evaluate. We don't have a quotation.
Well, and as I understand, Gene's thing was that he was gonna pull up the end of July. So I'm expecting him any minute, right?
He's been pretty busy.
Well, I
I think
understand.
the rain may have held him up too, probably.
The contractors do July and December. Contractors do July and calendar.
Well, board, let's get the Atlanta Park Station fixed. And I'm not opposed to improving upgrades up there. We need to do them. You know, it's gonna have to go back to the Atlanta Town Council if they wanna do that or not, but we've got the funds to do it. And my proposal is we spend $5,000 in Atlanta and $5,000 at Jksn Township Station. Or the Station 55, Station 56,
And the rest paid by
$5,000.
the township?
And the rest paid by the township. Board?
I agree.
That's what we kind of discussed previously, wasn't it? We
I
paid $13.
agree with anything you said.
And you're still gonna have, according to what we got in our budget, you're still gonna have over $8,000 left in that line item. that we could, if we needed to, transfer into next year, carry over into next year.
That's what I'm trying to look for, and trying to save as much out of this year's budget as we can, because like I said, we took $78,000 out of part-time help up there and cut shifts back to 50% out of the Atlanta station.
Yeah, well, this would,
And, you know, anything that could save so we can roll over will be more hours that we can put back into the Atlanta station and have our staff maintain our personnel. as much as
Let me
possible.
make a discussion, and let's involve the resolution or whatever we're going to do here, be part of that discussion. Number one is that we went by the township guidelines. We need to cut as much as we can, cut the fat off the ribs, so to speak, and do what we can with our budget and keep it as low as possible. And if we want to move forward, futuristic about it, as though we're going to be functioning for the year 2016, and of course we heard rumors we were going to be non-existent in 2016, so there's been a lot of apprehension on both boards on moving forward. I can entertain that. We want to move forward. We also need money also available to keep that station fluent and keep it full of personnel to keep it operating, because we need both stations. So I want to entertain a motion here, and part of that is a recommendation that we agree with Mr. Roberts that we will pay $5,000, use the other $5,000 that's part of the not appropriated, given money for the insurance settlement, along with the township being responsible
Actually,
to pay the remainder of the roof.
You're not spending 5 because you got 5's insurance money, so you're only spending 5.
I don't, that was unappropriated, that was money 2 years ago.
well, we need to find out about that money,
It
but
needs to come out of the appropriated line item. That's what it needs to.
That was my question. What would it take to spend that $5,000? That's the question.
we have to reappropriate it into building.
It's not
maintenance and
appropriated
grounds.
funds.
It's an additional appropriation.
Okay.
Well, we can do that when you find the numbers, can't we?
But my question is, why did you additionally appropriate when you have the appropriations there?
She's right.
Okay, so
'Cause
we
you
could
have to-
carry
you
that
have to do
over.
legal ads and have a public hearing for an additional appropriation.
Until you spend the $21,000, there's no need to reappropriate.
Right, that's what they're saying. But that money will still be there. The money's still there, but we can reappropriate for anything we want, a different line item.
I'd like to see where it's at.
It's in there.
Yeah.
There's still money out of the air factory too, that's like $2,500.
And we have permission to spend it, so we don't have to ask for.
Yeah.
There's $2,500 left there that's somewhere floating around.
And the cash is
Somewhere
still
out
there.
here.
Yeah, but isn't Atlanta keep that?
No.
Yeah,
gave it to
it's
them.
actually
We gave it there, keep it.
It was
We had the maximum amount, and then we'll do it for the right checks all the time, you just don't total amounts
So,
left.
which we can, has been
It's $2,600 somewhere.
Cash, because at the end of the year, it's just.
Okay. So for the sake of trying to maintain control of the meeting, I'm going to say this, is that we agree that the roof needs to be repaired, Atlanta station needs to be repaired, and whatever it takes to do that, we agree to it's $21,000 part of that $5,000, or is it not? Is it a separate little bucket over here?
Yeah.
That's the thing, it's got to be somewhere.
That's
We
what I'm
agree to pay
saying.
$5,000, we use that $5,000, that needs to be reappropriated to help repair the roof, along with our motion is to have the township pay for the remaining cost of fixing the roof 50
Now,
grand.
are you asking for $5,000 to be reappropriated?
Well, is it my money to be reappropriated? Is it
No, that
yours?
we have permission to spend
I'll vote
money,
down it here, we have the money in the budget.
and it's there.
Okay, so we'll use that $5,000 along with an additional, or just $5,000.
You're just gonna use $10,000 out of your building maintenance fund to do these repairs.
Is it 5,000 with the township?
You don't get any money.
Territory?
There's 10 grand you're gonna take out of your building maintenance fund, pay for these repairs, they're gonna pay the other 13 grand, and you're done.
Well, I gotta move a pipe. How
Well,
much do you think that costs?
Well, I think the township
Few
can pay
hundred.
for moving the pipe.
Yeah,
That probably won't be
That's-
$200 or $300.
Yeah, that's chump change.
Okay, well,
No, that's fine. We'll take care of the pipe.
Here's what I don't want to do, I don't want to come back and ask for that again.
No.
I want to make a decision tonight and move forward and use Hinkle's appropriate details there and just move forward. So I want to entertain a motion to spend that money to get the problems taken care of. So this way we don't discuss that
Did
anymore.
you make the motion, Mr. President?
I'd like to make a motion, this is what I'll say. As far as the Station 55, we got the quote for the roof, okay. I make a motion, Terrty, go ahead and pay $5,000 towards the quote that we got from Hinkle. Township repairs the wall and moves the pipe on their own. And we get the contractor up there to repair the ceiling in Station 56 and put the insulation back and repair ours according to the way it should have been after the insurance. So that's my motion.
So which motion is on the table?
What I'd like to also, with that being said, I'd like to also address the interlocal and get this